Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker.
Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
All right, Mr. DeMille, I'm ready for my close-up.
Dodge this.
Raise your hand if you had any of these thoughts like I had at one point when I was in high school. Did you ever just like wish the school bully, the person you hated, would try to attack you in the middle of in front of everyone, and then you beat the shit out of him, you looked really cool? Or did you ever wish that you could go to prom with like the super hot girl, make out with her, but then also get with like your childhood best friend and make out with her too? Or maybe you just like wanted to like fly out of a window and be super ripped and beat up like women. If you raise hands to any of those, then you're like me and you're like my co-host Jeffrey, and we can talk about art today because the movie we are discussing has all of those key moments. And Jeffrey, what movie are we talking about?
We're talking about Sky High, folks. In my experience with high school, I was in a weight training class. I was sitting in the bleachers while the coach was taking attendance, eyes glued to the clipboard. Kid next to me, he nudges me. He pulls a vape out of his backpack, takes a hit, blows it in my face, and then shushes me. And I did nothing.
Jeffrey's the equivalent of the black kid who turns into a puddle. That's his superpower. My interesting workout class from high school story is freshman year. My brother and I were weirdly in 3 classes together. He was a senior, I was a freshman. We had weight training, study hall, and choir all together. And one day we were just like in the gym during like this class, and he just started doing sit-ups, and I wanted to be cool and impressive. My brother was really fit and I wasn't, and we both did like 500 sit-ups. And I found out later that day when I went to work after school that my butt crack was bleeding because of the friction of going up and down so many times. And to this day, I have a small scar at the very top of like my back meeting my butt crack. And so there you go. But welcome to the Holy Moment Podcast, everyone. This is a podcast where we watch movies, sometimes great movies, and sometimes perfect movies like Sky High. And we discuss the moments that work, the moments that don't, and of course, the moments that reflect truth in unexpected ways. Again, like Sky High. I'm very excited, if you cannot tell, to discuss this movie. One of my favorites from my childhood, and I just had an absolute blast rewatching it.
A blast from my past, too. No, it was so fun. It was just as delightful as I remember it being. Such an escapist fantasy. Right? There are tiny quibbles that I could make about the plot or directions that they could have gone that they didn't. But we don't care about that here, right? If this were any other movie, and if this weren't the final episode of the 3rd season, is it the 3rd season?
It's the 4th season, and we also still have one more episode. We still have your episode after this.
That's right.
It's the last episode of my pick for the season.
All right. Time to scrutinize. No.
This piece of shit, his character wasn't cohesive. No. I'm excited to let loose, guys, because this has been a great season. But man, we've been watching like banger after banger, heavy movie, philosophical movie, deep movie. Gosh, we had Prisoners. We had the documentary Emmanuel. We had Phantom Threads, the creepiness that movie was. So just a lot of movies where we don't get to let loose. And I feel like this is the first movie of the season where I can kick back. And like I don't drink a whole lot. But if I had like a Budweiser, a cider, a nice drink, I would absolutely drink a cold beer right now with you at midnight as we record this episode to talk about Sky High.
Likewise, that'd be nice. We should organize that someday. Just a nice, chill, casual viewing of like a fun, lighthearted crowd pleaser.
That'd be beautiful. I mean, I feel like criticizing art when you're drunk makes it better. I'm 99% sure that's real.
Yeah, it's true. It's been proven. Studies have been made.
Yeah, the next films we work on, whether something we write or direct, or if we're just like a PA on, we should show up just absolutely hammered and be like, guys, I'm going to do a great job.
It's
Hold
part
my
of the
beer.
Experience. Yeah.
Yeah. See, if you're an actor and you're playing a drunk, you can get away with it. If I'm like a gaffer and I show up and I'm trying to rig some lighting drunk, I'm going to go to jail. I'm going to crush someone with a light by accident.
That'd be no good.
It would be. But we're not here to talk about being drunk and our daily drinking habits. We're here to talk about the beautiful movie that is Sky High. So I picked this for the category of early 2000 Disney movie. Also, shout out to my sister-in-law. She was the one, we were on vacation, and I was like, I made a reel specifically saying like, someone choose a category so I can choose Sky High. And she watched it and she's like, hey, here's a category. Now you can go watch Sky High. So I'll probably personally send this to my sister-in-law and be like, this is for you. Thank you so much. But yeah, this is from my childhood. I watched a lot growing up, like only at my grandparents' house because my grandparents' house had Dish back in the day, so they had the Disney Channel. We did not, and so whenever we were there, like in the early 2000s, we would watch it growing up. Uh, a little bit of background for all those you itching to know about the movie Sky High. Mike Mitchell was the director. He also did Shrek Forever After, Trolls, The Lego Movie 2, and most recently Kung Fu Panda 4. So he's done some biggie heavy hitters, but Sky High will always remain at the top for him.
The cream of his crop.
Yes, for sure. Not just the cream of his crop, the cream of all cinema crop, to be honest. Just the peak. This movie came out in '05, so Jeffrey and I were pretty young, like 5 and 6. Uh, I want you to guess, Jeffrey. What do you think, now that you've seen this movie in recent eyes, maybe after going through film school, what do you think the budget for this movie was? Because I was surprised. Like, it's Disney, and Disney's had money for a long time, but this was back before they superhero everything, and so I'm just curious, how much do you think they give a budget for this idea?
Well, it's very special effects heavy. And that was kind of cool to see. It didn't seem particularly low quality, maybe a bit dated by our standards, but by the standards of 2005, I'd say this is maybe a good mid-budget to maybe higher budget, on the higher end of mid-budget.
Put a number to that.
Put a number.
Vague answer.
Oh, I'm terrible at estimates. I don't even like, what is high budget? What is low budget? What is middle budget? $2.
$2, eh?
Yeah.
Well, you were a little under. $35 million was the budget. But it made about $90 million, which I think is pretty impressive for being like again, I know like some of the earlier Disney nostalgic movies, I think made a lot of money, or at the bare minimum, people are always talking about it. But I feel like for like a Disney original movie, making 50 million is nothing to sneeze about. But apparently 50 million was not enough because there was talks, and they even put together a script for a sequel and a whole TV series that they had like contracts and the characters all signed on for. But I guess 50 million wasn't enough, so it never got fully greenlit. And so we could have had Sky High 2.
That would have been fantastic.
Yeah, the script was where they went to university. So it's just like the next level of like superheroism, but as college people. And I would have loved that.
Yeah, would that have been likewise aimed at a younger audience, or?
I assume so, but it would have been cool to see them like edge it up a little bit, make it a little more gory. Like, I'm not saying it has to be like The Boys or anything, but just make it a little more adultish. Yeah. So I think that would have been cool.
We have a lot of revivals nowadays, the iCarly reboot that has them past their school years. I think Freddie's divorced.
Oh,
yeah, it's a true fact.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know of this.
That didn't last very long. I think there's one season they canceled, but we have a lot of remakes like this happening nowadays, where we take these beloved characters from a childhood classic, we age them up so that they're the same age as the audience that viewed them when they were kids.
It's not exactly that, but speaking of remakes, you know what came out yesterday?
What came out yesterday? Well, I know Project Hail Mary is an adaptation.
That's true. No, but it was, did you know they're remaking the Harry Potter series?
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So the show did not come out, to be clear. The trailer, the first look of this show came out. And I'm excited. I will say, as a big Harry Potter fan, I love the movies. I hope the series is good. I don't think they have to be the same. I don't know. Everyone's giving like a hissy fit about it. If we watch it and it's bad, it's bad. Give it a chance. Anyways, I digress. But yeah, so the movie made $50 million. It had some big names in it, like Kurt Russell played the dad, which I did not remember because last time I watched this, I didn't know who Kurt Russell was. So that was funny seeing him be in there. And yeah, there's not much more to it. It was a Disney movie. I think the script was originally written like in the 90s. No one ever made it, got shelved. And then the writers and creators at Kim Possible, I think they were kind of trusted, and they were trying to pitch around a different superhero movie that never got greenlit. But they're like, hey, you guys have a show that everyone loves. How about you take this old script, turn it into something a little better? And so they were the ones that rewrote this original script and came up with the final draft that was Sky High.
That reads because Kim Possible was an iconic show, and the humor, I see the similarities there. Very quick, very clever, very punchy.
I also agree. Because for all of the reasons you said, Kim Possible is a good show. And Sky High, it's something I want to get into in the podcast, but like, it's an early 2000s Disney movie. I feel like a lot of those are only rewatched because of nostalgia and nostalgia only. They're not actually good. Like, they're kind of fun to hate on or like to enjoy the campiness of it. But something about Sky High just works. like the campiness of it, but the wittiness of it, like the characters who actually you kind of care about, it all works. And so it makes sense coming from people who did Kim Possible, a show that actually has good characters and a show that I believe in. I'm happy to see they got those like creators on board with it.
I'm gonna burn some bridges, make some people angry with this. I'm not the biggest fan of High School Musical.
I have one of my closest friends in high school. She was obsessed with it, and she watched it all the. I actually hung out with her like 2 weeks ago, and she was talking about how she still watches it to this day. And so I don't have very many experiences with it. I think I saw it, no recollection of it though, none.
That's the thing is when you were talking about movies that people watch for nostalgia, particularly the Disney Channel original movies. It's kind of what I think of, and it has a similar feeling. Now, perhaps it is a step up in quality from a lot of their other Disney Channel originals, but I think that a lot of it is nostalgia. Whereas this movie, as an adult, I watch it and I go, I'd watch that again right now.
Yeah, I'm excited to watch it with my kids one day. It's speaking of like nostalgia, it's just crazy how like a whole corporation, a whole company like Disney can go through so many different variations of itself. Like we grew up with like remember the Disney Channel and like how they would do like they would draw the Mickey Mouse face and like with the Wizards of Waverly Place they would have a wand and Hannah Montana. And it's just crazy that like that was an era of Disney and these campy bad movies. And then we just got finished with like the era of Disney like with Marvel and the cinematic universe. And so like now the next seasons of Disney what will the next decade look like? So it's just a tangent, but it's just crazy how such a big company can have different seasons of its life of different what they value and what they try to put forth into the media's attention.
Luca's going to be some kid's favorite movie.
Have you seen it?
No.
I'm not a big like animated Disney kids movies. I saw the trailer and my only thought was when it was coming out, I was watching the season of MasterChef where one of the contestants' name was Luca and then he ended up winning.
I watched that with you.
My favorite. Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Okay, there you go. Yeah, I knew I watched with college and my roommate, but big fan. Okay, if you guys can probably tell, usually we're a little more honed in. Usually we're a little more talking about the movie. But like I said, it's sky high. What do you want from us? We're not going to do the most deep dive of this early 2000 Disney movie, but we probably should talk about it a little bit. For that, I'm going to give a synopsis. Usually write my synopsis out beforehand. Usually try to make them be coherent. Didn't do that today. So here we go. Sky High follows Will Strong. He's your average 14-year-old boy. Nervous, awkward, going through puberty. His parents are the strongest superheroes in the world, you know, your normal stuff. And he has the expectations to live up to be the greatest hero of all time. But fun fact, he's like invincible. Mark Grayson, I think is the character's name. I like the show. Season 4 is coming out soon. But he has no superpowers yet. And he's like, where am I going to get my superpowers? When will my superpowers come in? But he has to go to high school. He's a freshman and he's going to high school with all of his little friends and all of them have lame little powers like glowing, turning into diarrhea and turning into furry. And those are their powers. And the other one's a glow stick. And he goes to Sky High and he learns. He makes out with a few girls. He has prom. Prom gets destroyed. He gets some superpowers. So basically all of our high school experiences, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I remember not failing and definitely succeeding my hero exam. I got placed in the correct class because my superpower is it's like all the girls love me.
I really wanted to roast you right there, Jeffrey. I wanted to be like, the most unbelievable thing I said right now about this was not that Jeffrey had superpowers, not that Jeffrey saved the world. You know, it was the fact that he made out 2 different girls in high school. That's the most unrealistic thing Jeffrey had done. That's mean. I would never do that.
It's true. It's true though.
That's okay. Hey, we all, that's the thing. Will Strong, we all want to be him. We all want to be the kid that's humble and nice. He's just trying to make his way through life and then is super strong and gets the girl he likes in the end.
I mean, that's the thing, right? A route that they could have taken with this is Will never gets his powers. And his dad learns to accept him for who he is. And he proves that you can be a hero without all of the fancy gadgets and gizmos and special abilities. They kind of do that with Encanto later on. But that could have been a good direction. But no, we're going to give him powers. Why? Because this is an escapist fantasy, right? And that's fine. And it does that very well.
This movie is every like high schooler, teenage boy's wet dream, I feel. Minus some of the sexual stuff, but not minus all of it, because there's like a weird amount of cleavage in this for an early Disney's 2000 movie. Jeffrey? Is it just me that is it just me? Is it just me that noticed that?
Uh,
It's okay if it's just me.
no, I mean, I noticed it some, but I also noticed some very dated moments. Not dated in like a bad way, but just, oh, that's kind of funny looking back at that retrospectively. Like the coach slapping the ass of that one student that turned into him.
Well, what I love about this movie is it's one of those chaotic movies that is self-aware. It knows that it's this campy, fun Disney movie, but it doesn't go full in. Like I feel like maybe the movie Shrek, where it's just like kind of batshit crazy in some ways, and then you love it as an adult for all the weird references. It takes itself, it's aware, and so it's funny, and it has some of those like really dark humor like jokes. But then also I feel like the characters, Will, his girlfriend Layla, hit the parents. I feel like they all take their characters very seriously, even if they're kind of outlandish and campy to us, the audience. In their characters' lives, in their own space, I feel like they make sense and it's rooted. So at the same time, this movie's really fun to like watch and it's kind of crazy, but at the same time, it's weirdly grounded. And for me, I think that's why it's kind of a classic. Because I think a lot of other Disney movies, they just lack a story, or not old Disney movies, but early 2000 Disney movies. I feel like they lack a core story where the characters are believable and you want to root for them. But I really rooted for our characters.
Some of her characters are quite outlandish, but also they're very consistent. Like Steven. Stronghold is kind of a self-obsessed asshole, right? And you get the sense that maybe he put a few heads in the toilet when he was at high school. And we never lose that sense. He is that way from the beginning to the end. Kind of a arrogant jock, maybe with a heart of gold, ultimately, but still an arrogant jock.
Yeah. I really like Kurt Russell's character. And I agree with you. I like that they gave him like this ignorance of like, I have it all. And you could maybe argue that like the writers are trying to do something a little deeper, like whether it's white privilege, male privilege, like he is this white male with this perfect job that has everything going for him. He has the hot wife, he has all the powers, all the money, everything you could desire. And he isn't even aware of anyone else's problems. Again, I don't think the movie gets that deep into things, but also the analogies you can draw where the father, Steve Stronghold is Will Stronghold's father, and Will comes home kind of halfway through the semester. He's hanging out with all his friends, and the dad's like, "Oh, interesting friends you got there." He's like, "Yeah, they're all sidekicks because in this high school they have segregation between the sidekicks and the superheroes, and it's awesome." And you could just tell when the dad and son are having this conversation of like, "Oh, they're all sidekicks. Oh, well, good for you. You're progressive. I wouldn't have done that, and your grandfather never would have done that, but good for you." You could definitely feel like it could be a insert race, insert LGBTQ plus like metaphor here. But so I do feel like the writers were kind of tongue in cheek with their allegories of what they were talking about.
Yeah, I'm glad you're hanging out with your tokens. I'm glad that's basically what he was saying. Also, I'm going to say Steven. Steven, that's his name, right?
Steven, yeah.
It
was Steve.
I want you to edit that soundbite, Steven, onto the name Mark that I misquoted earlier.
The funny thing is, half of me almost, because Jeffrey like stumbled that whole segment earlier, half of me almost interrupted and said, "You know what? It's a chill episode. I'm not going to edit anything. I'm going to keep in all of our mistakes. No old blunders. If you let out any slurs, I can't edit them out, Jeffrey. It's too much work for this episode."
Unfortunate.
Oh man. Okay, with that being said, we have to ask the most quintessential question for Sky High right up front. And when I say right up front, we're like 20 minutes in. What superpower would you have if you were in this world? If you could be a part of this world, and we'll do two options. One, you have to pick a superpower we see in the show, the movie, and two, just any superpower you could have being in this world to be a superhero. What would they be?
Teleportation. I would very much like the ability to actually open portals that I can walk through and be anywhere I want to be.
How does it work? Do you have to have been to the other place? Can you just like imagine like a portal opening? Or like if you want to go to Japan, do you have to look at a picture? Just think Japan? Does it open up inside someone's house, cut them in half?
I think that depending on what you know about the place and your familiarity with it, you can act with more precision. But if I were to think Japan very broadly, it would take me to Japan, just like anywhere.
And then what about a superpower we saw in this movie?
Oh, the ability to replicate myself. It's like that cheerleader girl. I have always thought that that's a cool ability. Up your productivity by 10.
Shadow Clone Jutsu from Naruto.
Exactly. But you know what? I think it's so unfair that she's a cheerleader and that that's allowed. There are probably several students that wanted to apply for the cheerleading position, and she just holds a monopoly on that. Surely there are rules against it.
It fits her character perfectly because she's like the character of Vanity, where she's like, I'm pretty, I'm the best, she's cocky. So of course no one else could be on the cheer team.
Maybe each one of her clones had to audition.
What? So every time she like puts them back inside herself, she effectively kills them. They have to try out again.
Yeah.
That's fair. I think, for me, this isn't like the best superpower. Like there's so many other better superpowers out there, but I think just like a fun one, if we want to keep it semi-realistic, I feel like complete and total calisthenic control of your body, like parkour times 1,000. So you just have like mastery over every single fiber and muscle in your body to where you could do like some crazy human feats. Like you remember the movie Lucy, how she unlocked 100 capacity of her brain?
Yeah.
I want to unlock 100% capacity of my body.
But if realistic is our metric, I don't know, they weren't very realistic in this film. And if the question is any superpower.
Hey, I'm just thinking like, I could be Superman. But in the movie, what would be a fun one? I do think the main villain, what was the main villain's name? Something Pain. Here, I have it written down. It was Royal Pain. What a great name. Oh, also, I'm going to say this now because otherwise I'm going to forget. Halfway through the movie, my wife just jokingly said out loud, War and Peace. And I didn't, until this day, recognize that that's what they were doing because our who we think is the main bad guy turns good guy, a Heart of Gold, is Warren, Warren, last name Peace. But his whole thing is he has two wolves inside of him. One is good, one is evil. His dad was a supervillain. His mom was a superhero. And so his name is War and Peace. And I am a little stupider for not ever picking up on that.
I just love the image of his parents in the hospital room. They've just given birth, and they look at each other, and they know their whole shtick, right? One's a hero, one's a villain, and they give each other a smirk, and they're like, War and Peace.
How do you think that like relationship works? Are they divorced, or do they have like a really weird love-hate dynamic with a lot of like hot makeup, anger, sex? Or like how does one be a supervillain and one a superhero? Or do they leave it at the door when they come home? Normal family.
Think the relationship in Phantom Thread.
No, we need to stop. I want to stop being reminded of the relationship in Phantom Thread.
All right, we will never again talk about
man.
Phantom Thread. But I imagine they leave it at the door, right? It's like, oh, how was your day today, honey? Oh, I was rescuing people. There's a bank robbery. So what were you doing today? And, oh, I was robbing the bank.
That's yeah. And therefore, that's why War and Peace, the two wolves fighting amongst them. Cool looking guy.
Yeah. I really liked his character. In fact, I think he had better chemistry with Layla than our main character did.
Oh, 100%. Like I liked our main character. I think he worked for what he needed to. I think he was a little bit too of like the perfect character. He's this good kid who's down on luck because he wants superpowers, and then he gets the superpowers. And obviously, he has his in the shadow Valley of Death moment where he's like being befriended by the hot girl at school, Gwen, who is actually the bad guy. And so he's made to look like a jerk. But I knew that, like I knew the twist, so I was paying attention. I was like, ultimately, he's not perfect. Like he said, he forgets about Layla, his date with her at the restaurant, so he's not perfect. But he ultimately never does anything super dickish or tries to be a jerk. And the moment he realized what Gwen is doing, he immediately says, "Mm-mm." He shut that shit down and said, "These are my friends. Y'all suck. Get out of here." And so I think he just was a little too of a Mary Sue. Just I'm a good guy. Just kind of too much of a self-insert. But War and Peace, my goodness, who doesn't want to be War and Peace?
I mean, you could get the sense that Layla was flustered during their interaction at the Chinese restaurant. It's like, oh man, he is affecting
she
me.
wanted War and Peace.
I wonder if I were to go on AO3 or Wattpad or any one of the fan fiction sites and I were to type up Layla X War and Peace, how many pushes would I get? Versus if I were to type up the main character's name and Layla, I guarantee you, I will bet that there will be less fan fiction about that relationship.
All right, everyone. If you reach out to us at theholymomentpodcast@gmail.com or any of our Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and you tell Jeffrey he will next episode have written fan fiction about War and Peace and Layla.
It's a promise.
PG-13. PG-13.
Oh,
These
they're
are
kids. They are
high
kids.
schoolers. These are high schoolers, but they will go on a very steamy Chinese date.
Yeah.
But just talking.
Spoilers for later, but once they find out that the main villain is an actual 40 or 50-year-old, the main character says, I made out with an old lady. No, young man, she made out with you. That's a problem. Oh, no, I swear, officer, it was just a part of my evil plan.
Okay, but wait, we need to talk about the real villain of the movie. Can you blame her? She was raised by a super weird, creepy clown jester man, who I love. The actor's name eludes me right now, but he is the principal in Community, who I love dearly. And he's always playing really weird, gimpish, kind of gay, kind of like weird pseudo-sexual characters. This movie, nonetheless, he's dressed up as a jester, hopping around, and he's seemingly getting off on all these weird moments.
That comment when he drops Gwen off at her home, him acting as the father is like, you're not that kid with the 6 hands, are you? It's like, no. Anyway, keep him away from her.
Yeah, definitely a creepy. I mean, he's into some BDSM things. Whenever she like grabs him by the throat, he's like, "Uncle, uncle." He like was begging for that. But I digress. But we can talk about that because she was actually like 45 canonically in the story. She was not an 18-year-old person or younger. She was an old woman, and he was an adult. We walk a thin line here at the Holy Moment Podcast sometimes. No. When you first watched this movie, Jeffrey, how old were you? And did you see the twist coming of Gwen, the hot, perfect student council lady, being evil?
How could I have? I mean, I was a stupid little kid. No. I mean,
yeah, same.
I think I saw it coming that she was not what she seemed, and that the main character, of course, belonged with a childhood friend who cared about him deeply. It was very obvious, her crush. But her being the villain of his dad's youth took me completely by surprise.
I like to think even young Jeffrey is like, it's a woman. She's a liar. I know
no.
it. A snake.
Oh, no.
A snake. 6-year-old Jeffrey forming his opinions young.
Yeah, and meanwhile, I'm like, Layla, she deals with plants. She probably reproduces asexually. She doesn't count.
She doesn't. Oh, no. But I agree with you. I do think War and Peace and Layla had a little bit of chemistry and wish they, I guess, dated. I love the final scene shot of the film when they're pulling out of the prom. Also, everyone just got turned to babies and were almost murdered by a psychopathic 18-year-old, 40-year-old girl. But then they solve it and they're like, prom's back on. We're going to keep hanging out. Yay. But they were pulling out of this final shot. And we just see this ice girl that murdered 2 people at the beginning of this movie. Imagine this, sky high. The bus lands. The kids get off. And these 2 goofuses, I don't know what they did. He shot a laser beam into her ass. So maybe it was justified. But she turns around and freezes them solid. And we see these kids multiple times throughout the film. Months have passed and they have stayed frozen. She killed them. They're dead. And so, but that girl, she walks up and holds hands with War and Peace, and it's cute because she's cold and he's hot. And I just thought gotta book in that. I wonder what their kid's going to be like.
This is a weird school and a dangerous school, highly unethical school. When they're doing the Save the Citizen challenge, there's a brief aside with the Brainiac guy. He's like, oh, we used to use real citizens.
I laughed. I got a good chuckle out of me. Now, do you think they let the citizens die when they use real citizens?
It'd be boring if they didn't.
That's fair. Yeah, it doesn't help, like you said at the beginning, the coach. I guess they have a PE coach who gets to decide if they're sidekicks or heroes by looking at their powers for 2 seconds. But weird, sad, lonely, creepy dude who has a weird power dynamic and screams at all the kids and slaps one of the kids' ass. Weird guy. But yes, issues. The school has issues.
Speaking of that scene with Save the Citizen, that was another opportunity that they could have gone in a different direction that might have also been impactful story-wise, where he's making the choice between saving the mannequin and saving War and Peace. part of me thinks that it might have been a little stronger if he had saved War and Peace and then the citizen died, right? And he fails the challenge, but he saved an actual living, breathing human being. And then it goes to show what the school values, what the school sees as worthwhile versus his own true values. But
You bring out a good point. The movie did a good job of being like, hey, look, there are sidekicks and there are superheroes. There's like literal segregation. And by the end of the movie, the superheroes were the ones that saved the day. Oh, sorry. But at the end of the day, the sidekicks were the ones that saved the day. So it was kind of ended with Steve being like, the sidekicks are superheroes. Everyone's equal. Everything's good. And so there is like a lesson and a moral to be learned. But you are right. They never like, I liked that they had Will be the stereotypical hero. I liked that he was like the kid that's going to save everyone. He's the son of the strongest superhero, so he's the strongest superhero. Like they didn't just completely break down the system. They didn't have the emo girl or emo War and Peace, rage against the system. There was like a balance to it to still be like, hey, look, we can live in harmony. Like sidekicks are like our superheroes and superheroes are superheroes. We need both. It was not Will rejecting the superhero system. He very much accepted it and embraced it. He was just also like, hey, we need to embrace everyone. And so I agree there's a different path they could have gone down, but I like that they weren't like reject the system as a whole. More like, hey, let's mend the system where it needs to be mended.
oh yeah, for sure. I think that they could have reached that conclusion too via that path, but then we would be missing out on that escapist fantasy element of the film, which is such a strong part of it. Because when you are a young man or woman watching this in middle school, of course you want to be the guy that saves the day. Always. You want to be the guy that has latent superpowers that just haven't developed yet. You want to see yourself in these characters. And a study has been done that when kids consume media, like stories and then watch movies, they want to watch characters that are slightly older than them because it gives them something to aspire to. They are not interested in watching movies starring kids that are younger. And then you get to our age and we're like, give us it all as long as it's quality.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, don't let your role model or your superhero, be someone of your own age. You want to look up to someone. You want to look up and be someone better and cooler than who you are. So I can imagine as kids, like middle schoolers watching this and be like, oh my gosh, that's us in 2 years. We're going to be high schoolers and we want to be like them, strong, brave, courageous, for sure. You've said it a few times, so I'm curious. This, and the funny thing is, I thought it, but I didn't use these words. But it is so true. This is an escapist film through and through. What scene or moment or character or piece of story resonated with you the most as an escapist film?
As an escapist film, particularly, just the thought that one of these days I'm going to wake up and all of my potential will be activated and I can show the world what was there all along, just out of sight. Right? That's an element of escapist fantasy that I resonate with, and I think a lot of people would resonate with that too. Is I just want the opportunity.
Yeah, just the opportunity. That's fair. I think for me, it has to be that scene because I feel like I imagine this exact scene growing up as like a kid. That scene where they're in the cafeteria, kind of entry to the second act. We're settled down, we understand the rules of Sky High. We're here now. We're going through growing pains, and Will Strong finds out that War and Peace hates his guts because his father, Steve Strong, put his father, the supervillain, into jail. And so War and Peace is an emo kid who has it out for Will. And it also reminded me of the scene from the original Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire, where it's been a minute, but isn't he walking through a lunchroom and the Flash, his bully, like trips him or something, and he catches all the food on the tray? Do you remember that scene?
Yeah, incredible scene.
Yeah, and if I remember correctly, I feel like that one was done practically. Like they did a bunch of takes of him catching all the food. Anyways, I digress. But the scene unfolds where a bully trips Will and he falls into War and Peace, spilling his food all over him. And then War and Peace at this point in the movie seems like a brute, a Neanderthal with no thoughts and can only think with his fists. And so he starts throwing fire at him. And Will at this point is a loser. He's a freshman. No one knows him. He's a sidekick, has no superpowers. And so he's running away. And we think, oh, this is another moment of shame. He's going to be pushed further into like a dark alley of you're a loser. But he escapes Will, and they keep fighting, and he keeps getting the better on him. But then he unlocks his superpower and throws him against a brick wall, and then proceeds to punch him through 3 cement walls into a cement pillar. And War and Peace doesn't die. So first off, like, what the heck? What is that guy made out of? His superpower was fire. Fire doesn't allow you to go through 3 brick walls. I'm sorry. But
Well,
the,
Will,
the fight.
they dropped a car on Will. That was
But
before
he
his
ducked.
superpowers.
He ducked.
Ah, it didn't look
He
convincing to me.
ducked. Oh, he 100% like fell on his back and ducked. That's like a whole thing.
He felt like this, right? Like just a straight line.
If someone drops a car at you, Jeffrey, are you going to argue how you get out of the way of it? No.
I'm remembering this wrong. I know this for a fact, but to me, it looked as though his feet never left the ground, but his body still.
It is true. It was like we talked about when we talked about at the beginning of the episode. This movie does have some not great age CGI, and that is one of those moments. It's very clearly like his body is like a CGI double that does look like it's just boop on a 90-degree angle. I will agree it doesn't look great, but he did duck. He did not just like take a full car crushing him. But that kid, that cafeteria scene was the most escapist to me, because it's just this idea of like, whatever it is, whether it's a parent that you disagree with, an actual bully, the authority of the school system, so many angsty teenagers, boys and girls, feels like the system is beating down on them. And for a chance to beat back on it, and for everyone, your friends, the girl you like, everyone in the cafeteria to cheer your name as you unlock a power that you wanted your entire life, just peak escapism. Like on the same level of like Sword Art Online, like anime where you literally isekai to a different world and get a harem and get a superpower. Just love that moment.
Yeah. No, I mean, I want to go to a superhero grad school.
What do you think that looks like in this world?
In this world, a superhero grad school, it's definitely more specialized, right? And so maybe if you have fire powers, you get a master's in fire powering, right? It's more specialized, less general. Same with like the tech kids, and very much the same for this movie where the kids don't really decide which classes they go to. If you want to pursue an even higher education, you don't really choose what program you do.
Yeah, so more segregation, keep the fire kids with the fire kids, the ice kids with the ice kids. But speaking of segregation, we got to talk about one of our favorite characters in the film. So you have the sidekicks, the losers, the ones that aren't worthy of superpowers. And they go into like a concrete room where some kids are standing up in the back room. Like they didn't even have desks. Very, very odd. Not good conditions. And they're taught by Boy Wonder, who is like a dude in his 50s who's dressed up like Robin Hood, like the original Robin Hood. And it's the saddest thing ever, where he clearly desperately wanted to be a superhero, but is just a sidekick. And it's sad to watch him kind of bumble around the whole movie. But again, I think it goes to show the directors and writers knew what they were doing, because he's so funny to watch as a kid, but he's hilarious and tragic to watch as an adult. But it also is commentary on the system and how unfair it is. And again, I'm not saying it's this super deep allegory for segregation or for all these social political issues, but I do think they were pointing at something a little deeper that they couldn't fully get into with this Disney movie that made it feel like it had weight. It's something we laugh at, but there was sadness behind this Boy Wonder character that I think everyone in the audience could feel.
Yeah, and the fact that he looked so much up to, was it Captain Stronghold? Is that his name? Or Mr. Stronghold?
Commander? I think it's the Commander.
The Commander. Yeah. The fact that he regarded the Commander so highly, and the Commander didn't even remember his name, and he was never discussed in the house, is so laughable, so comedic, but also like so tragic, right? Because that guy made scrapbooks for the two.
And the dad didn't even remember his name. Something I wanted to ask was, this movie actually predates all of Disney's superhero movies for the most part, because Iron Man, which kind of started the whole cinematic Marvel universe, 2008. This was in 2005. Do you feel, after the whole superhero fatigue we've had over the past decade, knowing this movie came first, does it feel like it stands the test of time? Like, does it feel like its own superhero movie? Or if you didn't know it came out in 2008, or sorry, in 2005 before everything else, would you be like, this is just an uninspired superhero riff-raff movie, just sucking off the teat of the superhero age that was the Marvel Cinematic Universe? Or do you think it's like stands alone as its own thing?
I think it stands alone as its own thing. I think it's just a genuinely good film. And if this movie had come out shortly after the superhero craze began, I think it would have ridden that hype to even greater box office numbers. Because at the time, like, studios weren't sure about superhero films, whether they could even work. Iron Man opened their eyes to it, and then the public really got on board. But people viewed comic books and superheroes as kitschy and for kids. I mean, this is a kids movie.
I like to think, Sky High crawled so Iron Man could fly. I like to think that Sky High actually somehow paved the way for the cinematic universe.
Yeah. What was it? Jon Favreau who directed that? Or, yeah, he watched Sky High and he was like, this inspires me.
It's interesting because the writers and directors, one of them, either the writers or the director, went on statements saying that he's interested. He's like, well, with the cinematic universe existing, I'd be interested in not bringing Sky High. When I read the statement at first, I thought he was saying I want to bring Sky High into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which is a hilarious thought. But I think he was just saying I want to make a Sky High like world in the cinematic universe. So like this high school, because everyone has a bunch of like superpowers. So I think it could be really fun, especially if you did it kind of like Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, not necessarily animated, but more fun. Like I feel less serious. There's still a lot of emotion and it's still a great story. That Spider-Man movie, but it has a different tone than a lot of the other live action movies. So I think if you could capture something like that, maybe even being animated, I think 100% you could have a Sky High in the Marvel world. And I think that'd be awesome.
Well, you could do like a Cobra Kai situation where you bring back the main character of this movie as the father of an important character in the next movie.
Yes. Will is the father of Thor. Confirmed. Oh, I'd love that to be true.
That means he's Odin. You're saying that he's Odin.
Yeah, I believe it. Will, he got older, he got stronger, he got, he dated Layla for a little while, but, he decided to go elsewhere and decide to marry, who's Odin's wife?
I'd forget. I like that idea of casually deciding to become a Norse god.
Yeah.
And then casually deciding to be worshipped by millions of people for centuries long past. I don't know how he's managing that.
As one does. Little do people know, Sky High is actually like thousands of years ago. It's like the whole idea how humanity, have you heard the whole theory where it's like we were super technologically advanced, like way
Yeah.
above our time, and then we went through the Ice Age, and then we went through re-evolution. That's what Sky High is. It's like 01 BC.
Yeah. Or maybe the title of Odin is like Santa Claus in the Santa Claus movies.
I've seen
The old
none
one.
of them.
You haven't?
No.
Do you care to be spoiled?
Not with this movie. That's okay.
All right. Not, you don't care?
No, you can spoil me.
All right. So, you've got this businessman who is very cynical, doesn't really like Christmas. He's taking care of his kid. He's divorced, right? So the wife's not with him. And the son doesn't want to be there either. Santa Claus visits. And main character steps outside, yells at him, saying like, hey, who are you? What are you doing? Santa Claus falls. And then he dies. And then he puts on Santa Claus's jacket for shits and giggles, I suppose. And then unknowingly, he discovers that if Santa Claus has died and you put on his jacket, you become the next Santa Claus.
Can you imagine walking outside, yelling at an old man, and he has a heart attack, and then you put on his clothes
Well,
to be possessed by him? That's insane.
Santa Claus disappeared, and so the clothes were left behind. So that makes it a little more odd, maybe a little more understandable, even.
Maybe. Which is funny because now I'm realizing the DM who I listened to just ripped this off, which I didn't realize because I one of the D&D podcasts I listened to, they had a whole joke where a random guy showed up in a Santa Claus outfit and they fought him, and then one of the characters put on the hat after they killed him, and the DM's like, "You're now Santa." And so that funny. Art inspires art, truly.
Yeah. You should watch the movies. They're fun.
Oh, maybe if you force me to watch them for the podcast when the holiday seasons come around. I'm not a huge Christmas movie guy. I'm not like a big like oh, it's this time of season for movies. The closest I would say is like fall and winter, like Tom Hanks, like Sleepless in Seattle, movie like When Harry Met Sally. I feel like that type of movie, 80s is what I would like watch more in the fall and winter. But I'm not big like Elf or like I gotta watch this movie on Christmas.
Groundhog Day. I'd watch that around Groundhog Day.
Yeah, that's fair. It's been a minute since I've thought about that. What was that, like season 1 we did for the podcast?
It
Maybe
was,
2? It's
yeah.
been a minute.
Great film.
Long time ago. It was a very good one. Well, let's see. Sky High. What else do I want to talk about? Oh yeah. Dutch angles. Did you notice the crazy amount of Dutch tilts they had in this movie?
I did. They did a lot of fun things with the cinematography and the editing.
Yeah. Yeah, that was something I was going to say. I haven't seen. Oh, I guess, let me, before I jump and abandon my original thought. Dutch tilts and Dutch angles, if you don't know, it's more or less when the camera is tilted, askewed, not straight on, to usually create a sense of unease, a sense of tension, conflict is going on. It's not used a crazy amount. And I feel like usually when it is used, it's not used very tastefully. Can it be done tastefully? Has it been done tastefully? Yes. If you don't do it tastefully, it's very obvious. And I think this was one of those moments where sometimes it worked, but sometimes it leaned in its hand to like, this is kind of a cheesy Disney movie. But ultimately, I was impressed with the production quality and the cinematography. I didn't grow up on a lot of Disney movies, so I don't know maybe if this is like pretty on par for what they normally had. But ultimately, it's a high concept. It is a superhero movie. Not only that, they are in a high school floating in the sky. Like, what more high concept could you want? Literally high. And so I just was impressed with it. When I was watching, I was like, hey, the CGI is okay. Some of it even good, dare I say. Some of it held up, especially the cafeteria fight when he's throwing the fire and destroying the walls. I was like, yeah, this looks seamless. Some of the other stuff, like the school bus flying through the air, maybe not so great. But ultimately, just really impressed with the special effects and the cinematography. Like, did you have anything that stood out to you as far as like special effects or cinematography? They were like, wow, impressive for being '05.
My favorite bit of special effects, I believe it was a practical effect, actually. It's when the commander is in his inner sanctum and he's playing pool and he's having a conversation with his wife and he stabs through the white ball with the pole. I mean, the sound design, you felt the impact there. It was quick. It was punchy. It was just a cool moment.
Genuinely great shot. Another one that I thought they did, it wasn't perfect, but decently. So I've been rewatching the first season of One Piece, the live action, and then been watching the second season. Big One Piece fan. I really enjoy the live action. I think, for those of you who don't know, the main character, Luffy, has an ability to stretch his body. So he can stretch his arms out and do wonky things. And I think they did a pretty good job. It doesn't look horrible. It doesn't look 10 out of 10. But there's a character in Sky High, one of the bullies. He has that ability. He's Mr. Elastic. He can stretch his arms, stretch his neck. Doesn't look as good as the Luffy in One Piece live action that just came out this year. But in my opinion, it doesn't look horrendously far out. And so that's just impressive to see that. They had a speedster running around. I thought they did perfectly, like a good enough job with his visuals. And so a lot of like the things that weren't like heavy, clear motion CGI, like the girl Gwen, when she reveals herself to be a bad guy, her mask that CGI's on and off, that looks pretty bad. The school bus, when its rockets come out of the back, that doesn't look like super great. But yeah, I do think overall though, the effects were impressive. I also have to imagine, guys, I don't know anything about CGI, but it seems like some elements are easier to CGI than others. Like again, I think smoke and fire components might be easier. I just say this because I feel like often fire looks good. Even if you have like a low production quality, sometimes the fire is the best CGI thing. And then going back to the live action One Piece, some things look kind of wonky and bad, but there's a character who can turn into smoke. And it looks amazing. It looks like real smoke. It looks great. So I do think there are just some things that are easier and harder to do with CGI. But what they did, there was a really cool shot that had to been probably half practical, half special effects in the cafeteria fight where War and Peace throws a fireball at Will and he puts up one of those plastic school lunch trays and it blows a hole in it and then he pulls it apart and it's like melting and goopy. I thought that was really cool.
And that's the thing about fire effects and smoke effects too. I feel like they're easier to integrate into practical and CGI. Like, I think when the fire was being shot from the sides of the table as the main character was crawling under it, kind of looked like the flame of real fires. I don't know about you, but
Yeah. Yeah. It probably just has something to do with like you said, the emotion, the motion and the environment it is in. And I also know a lot of like motion blur, like those type of attacks, like smoke and fire, they're moving really fast. So I think it's easier for the eye to just be okay with it. Whereas like maybe a mask coming out and coming around your face is more like stagnant once it like lands, once it's on her face, it's still fake. It's not moving around as much. So yeah, yeah. Again, a tricky pot, some really good chunks of potatoes and some really bad chunks of potatoes. What a weird analogy to use in this moment. But again, the CGI overall held up. Uh, Cinematography overall really solid. There were some scenes that were just genuinely beautiful. Like I genuinely was like, honestly, you could put that in like a movie theater almost. Again, not all of it, definitely not all of it, but specifically the scenes at the Chinese buffet. What clearly a beautiful location, where they're at that Chinese restaurant where Layla gets left behind by Will on their date and War and Peace hangs out with her. Beautiful location. There's also a shot where the mom and dad character, the commander and Jetstream, they show up to the prom and they show up with like, we can't go in there. We left Will behind. He's sad because, his girlfriend was actually an evil lunatic. We should probably go back and get him. Right as they're about to leave, the principal's like, oh, there they are. Come up to accept your prize. And we get this low angle on them, on their backs as they walk in. And it's a prom. So they have these bright overhead lights that are blue shining down on them. And so they're walking into this bright light. It just really reminded me of a shot I would feel like I would see in The Boys. Very cinematic, very beautiful, well composed. So again, there were some moments and some shots that I were like, this is good. This doesn't feel like early 2000s Disney.
yeah, I mean, very little took me out of the film. It was just like a good story, good editing, good cinematography. Where was this movie's Oscar? No, I won't go that far. But
Well, I will say this was something we learned. It's not a one for one lesson, but in producing, one of our professors told us start with an easy shot at the beginning of the day, especially at the very beginning of production. You don't want to start your day, and obviously there's outliers, but the the philosophy is don't start your day with something super difficult when you're on when you're filming. If you start yourself with like a one shot that goes for 10 minutes, you're gonna be racking your brain all day. You just start with a simple, easy, medium shot on sticks. Makes life go a lot easier. You gain momentum. That's kind of what you think about it as. Relating that to the film, for it having some pretty good CGI, it's a bummer that like I think the first CGI you immediately see in the movie sucks real bad. It's the scene where Will comes down and he's talking to his friend Layla, and they're about to go to the bus stop to go to the first day of Sky High. And we see her ability to make plants grow. And she like waves her hand over the plants on the windowsill to bring them back to life. And it just looks really, really poorly done. And so now all of a sudden, your mind, the first thing we see, the first moment of like superhero, CGI, big production value, looks like crap. So it just sucks that like they started off on that foot, in my opinion.
well, here's what I'll say. I think the foot that they actually started off on was the comic book portion, the comic book intro with the panels. I thought that was an excellent foot to start on. And that really set the mood for me in this film.
That's true. And like the early punk rock kind of music,
Early
indie
2000s.
punk rock.
Yeah.
Yeah, early 2000s. Yeah, I think that also helped. I think that like you're saying, that comic book intro was over some fun music. So I do think they set the tone and I liked it. I just wish like one of the first instances of superhero powers didn't look so bad. Out of all the powers in the movie, which one would you want the least?
I feel like the goo power is too easy an answer. I need to make it something else.
I think I would go with the guy that can spit acid, because if he can't control that, that's hell. That's a death sentence. It's like in Deadpool 2 with the guy that would vomit acid, then like vomited on like a teammate and killed him.
Yeah. You couldn't share drinks with anyone.
Yeah, I do think I honestly it's one of my favorite unique powers. I think it's like a cool idea, very My Hero Academia feeling. But I love the idea of going around and spitting acid on people and just like melting their faces off.
Trying to remember the other sidekicks at the beginning, that montage when Boomer is
I know what it is.
one can be kicked by a ball.
Worse than goo. The girl that turns into a bouncy ball.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Horrible. Garbage. What is that?
Well, here's the thing, Nathaniel.
That's not a superpower. That's a disability.
When I was a wee child, I watched the movie Baby Geniuses, Super Babies 2, or whatever it was called. And the kid that I wanted to be was the bouncy ball boy. So I saw him on the cover of the CD, the DVD. I pointed at him to my mom. I said, that's who I want to be when I grow up. I don't know what drew me to that, but I'm going to honor my past self and say, no, I think that'd be a pretty decent power.
Oh no, how could I not realize you're going to bring it back to Super Baby Geniuses, Baby Geniuses 2, which we also did, I think, in the same season of Groundhog Day. No, Jeffrey, if you turn into a big ball baby, I would also punch you off the stage like that problematic PE teacher did. I'm trying to think. I mean, yeah, there were like the girl that turned into a groundhog, hamster,
That'd be
the
kind of
puddle
neat.
kid. Didn't what?
I said that'd be kind of neat.
Yeah, I mean,
Fit into small spaces.
and different.
Yeah.
Yeah. Your rent could be very cheap if you just like went and lived in a trash can. But I also the kid that laser beamed the girl's butt and then got frozen solid. I wonder if he can control the temperature, or is it just because it didn't like laser through her butt and kill her? So can he make it hotter, or is his ability just to shine light out of his eyes? Will he be really good at like trafficking and directing like airplanes in the night? That's his job.
That'd be helpful. Little Rudolph.
But yeah, I mean, it's also like the My Hero Academia world. Some of those people have crazy, horrible superpowers where their head is just looks like a screwdriver, and that's your superpower. Your head is a screwdriver, and you cannot change it back.
How does that
but I
happen?
digress.
Right? How does that develop in a family?
Well, when a mother and a father screwdriver love each other very much. No. But what did I miss? Who is your favorite character? Again, like maybe they're not the most deep, crazy characters in the world, but again, I think these characters were believable. They were fun to root for. You felt bad for them when bad things happened, and I genuinely felt like they did a good job with them, keeping like their characters consistent. Who did you enjoy watching the most?
Who I enjoyed watching the most was easily the commander. He just came at it with such a fun energy and was so cocky. His time on screen was always a blast.
I mean, it's Kurt Russell. You gotta love him. He did a great job.
Yeah.
I think War and Peace is up there. I really liked War and Peace. Honestly, I really like the actor who is the Gimp Jester. He was in very few scenes, but especially like you said, when he showed up to the daughter's house and he answers the door and is like, "You the kid with 6 arms? You touching my daughter?" I really like him. He's very fun. And then the genius, the guy with a giant head, Megamind, basically Megamind, but he wasn't blue. Very funny guy.
He's the guy that plays the yellow alien in Lilo and Stitch.
Oh, really? Okay.
I recognized his voice. I was trying to place it throughout the movie. It's like, that voice is so familiar. And that's when I clocked it. Tom Kenny's also in the movie, SpongeBob.
Oh, who does he play?
He plays the couple that they're buying the house.
Oh, yeah, at the very end.
Mhm.
Yeah. That makes yep, that is familiar. I think the actress of Gwen, the bad guy, I think she did a very good job. I think all the child actors, they're like, I think when I looked it up, a lot of them were 16, 17 during filming. I think they held their own. I think they did a good job being emotional. And I think she did a very good job playing this cutesy pie, perfect little, I'm an attractive girl, but also I'm a nice girl. And then she flips on the switch and she's like, actually, I'm a mean girl. And then she flips on the switch again and it's actually, I'm a murderer. And so I actually think she did a very good job with her role, the actress who played Gwen.
Yeah, I definitely had a crush on her when I was a kid.
Yeah. I feel like I probably did too. That is fair. Well, very good. Well, with that being said, Jeffrey, what did I miss talking about Sky High? What deep things did I not talk about?
We didn't give enough love to the bus driver.
Oh yeah,
Lovely
we didn't talk about him at
character.
all.
Ernest, he wants to do his superheroing, but he can't. His parents are superheroes. He just never developed the powers. And then he fell in that vat of acid. And he became massive.
And it leads us to a dark question. Do you think he risked his life? Because they have a whole conversation of like, you can get superpowers by a vat of acid, but most people just die. Do you think he was like, hey, either I get superpowers or I stop living, and either is good for me? Or do you think he tripped into a vat of acid like an idiot?
I think that he tripped into the vat of acid like an idiot, but I think that's actually what he did. I'm choosing to believe it was an attempt at suicide just because that it's more interesting. Wow, how dark.
I like.
I like it a lot.
I, that should be a t-shirt. Wow, how dark. I like it a lot. Yeah, I agree. I think it is more interesting. And I think it's in line with his character. You know, he wanted desperately to be a superhero. And then at the end of the movie, he has this moment to shine by punching the gimp in the face, saving all the children on the bus, which is like the main plot of the movie that we didn't discuss at all. But that's okay. If you want to know why there are a bunch of children on a bus with a gimp driving it, go watch the movie Sky High. But maybe he got a taste of superheroism. And he's like, I can't keep on living as a bus driver. Either I become a superhero or I die. And he became a superhero. Yay, happy ending. He became giant. See, he's the opposite problem of the guinea pig. His rent is really expensive because he's a giant.
Oh, yeah. Surely they're going to find a space for him. The superhero school people. Is there like a department of superhero affairs in this world?
I would assume so.
Maybe they can take him to Area 51, study him, and that can be his home. They're not going to conduct any unethical experiments. He's out there.
Yeah, he just sits sadly on the outside of like the city line, waiting for like a monster to come, and then afterwards he goes back out, sits alone, gets more depressed than before.
Yeah.
And then he actually tries to commit suicide via toxic waste, and then gets another superpower.
He becomes even larger.
He falls in the city, kills everyone he's trying to protect. Sky High 2. Anyways, well, with that, folks, I think that brings us to the end of Sky High. Again, one of my favorite childhood memories. It doesn't matter if you're a kindergarten, a high schooler, or an adult. Sky High is a great time. If you're anything that is a living, breathing human, go watch it. It's a good time. Holy moments. Jeffrey, what in the world is your holy moment with Sky High?
Just the fact that this was a fun, efficient, tightly edited, tightly plotted, escapist fantasy. We need those sometimes. Especially after watching a string of very depressing or very thoughtful, very serious movies. This was exactly what I needed. And it's one of those movies that you can watch again and again and again, and it's not going to get on your nerves all that much.
Yeah, I fully agree. Like, I've seen it multiple times. That last shot, it's been a minute since I'd seen it. When they pull out and everyone's dancing in the prom, and they pull out of the broken window to reveal Will and his now girlfriend Layla floating in midair, making out. I a little bit in my mind was like, oh, the escapism, like that, like desire of high school, like just to have that power to like have that girl, just like what a, like a cool little. It just like reminded me of what it felt like to be in high school, and like what it felt like to want to escape. Because like one of the good things, hopefully, as becoming an adult, is like you have that escapism a little less. Obviously, sometimes it can be depressing. You don't have the life of escapism because you just have a sad life and you accept it because you're an adult. But ultimately, I like my life. I'm married. I like where I'm at with my life, what's going on. And so there's less of a need of escapism. So I almost had the romanticism of the idea of escapism. I wasn't like, oh, I want to escape and have this. It was more like, oh, I miss what it felt like to be a teenager and yearning for escapism. It was just kind of fun. Granted, I don't want to go back to those times feeling uncomfortable and always wanting to run away and be like, I want to go live in an anime. I'm happy that I'm a normal adult and I like where I'm at in life.
For sure. And kids need that, right? They don't always have to be reminded that things are complicated. They know that. They're living in their skin. They're undergoing complicated changes in their bodies. Let them be superheroes in their imagination.
Yeah, truly. It's important. Be the superheroes. Sometimes on the bus, I would imagine myself the supervillain, but that's a discussion between me and my psychologist, not me and the Holy Moment podcast fan base.
I was a supervillain on the bus once. And by that, I mean I was very pretentious. So there was a kid I was sitting next to, and outside there were a flock of geese. And she pointed at them and she said, "Look at them gooses." And me, being the asshole I was like, actually, it's pronounced geese. That lady stared daggers at me, and I have never felt that level and intensity of animosity since.
A true supervillain was born that day, and it was that girl. Out of your horrible comment, she went on to be a villain.
Yeah, guys, like don't be assholes, and don't actually people. If you need to hear that, learn it from me, who has done it and regrets it.
Well, what a good lesson that the Sky High can teach us all. Don't be like Jeffrey. I'm kidding. Jeffrey is one of the kindest people I know. Truly is. But for me, holy moment, honestly, that was going to be my holy moment. Just like the whole the fact that they were able to toe the line between fun adult humor and little kids movies that appeals to little kids, but also actually was kind of a bop that you believed in the characters, you rooted for the characters. The cinematography was pretty solid, and just like the fun, young superhero. And I love the fact that it came before. I'm not dissing the cinematic universe of Marvel and all of the other off splew of superhero content that's come since then. A lot of it's great, and I love a lot of it. But I think it is really cool that this is one of the earlier renditions of superhero films. And so for that, I would just say more or less what Jeffrey said is also my holy moment. And and yeah. And so there we did. We discussed Sky High. Now normally we spin a wheel, but we've come to the end of our season. Jeffrey only has one more movie. Before he says what it is, I'll remind everyone at home. Send us suggestions for categories. We pick 6 categories. Each of us pick one movie per category. That's 12 movies. That's about 4 months, 3 months. I don't know. Math is hard. Could be something crazy like a movie where Jennifer Aniston is in it and she has her hair dyed pink. I don't know if that movie exists, or it could be simple like I want a slasher film. But send it to the holy moment podcast at gmail.com, or send it to us on our social media platforms, or just a movie in general. If you really want to watch us review like Sharknado or something, we'll do it for y'all. But Jeffrey, what are we going to end the 4th season with?
All right, drum roll, people. Finding Nemo. Finding Nemo, folks.
Yay. I'm so excited. This is a movie that I've not seen in a very, very long time. And I know it's a good one.
Yeah, fantastic movie, fantastic story. I was reading an article from a famous screenwriter. I forget who exactly. And they were talking about what makes for an effective script. And they're using Finding Nemo as an example of a well-plotted movie.
If you can, you'll have to find that article and read it, and so we can talk about why they think it's a well-plotted movie.
I will. Our film professor sent it to me a long time ago. If I still have our correspondence, I'll check it out.
Yeah. You can track it down. So yeah, send it my way. Well, very good, folks. Well, hey, thanks for chilling with us for the past hour, just kind of shooting the shit about Sky High. Really is a great movie. Go watch it. Follow us on all of our platforms. It means a lot if you can leave a 5-star review on the podcast. Unless you don't like us that much, then just send us hate mail, but specifically through our email. Don't leave us a 1-star review. That's not a good way to hate us. Send us emails to hate us. But until next time, remember, sometimes it's okay to escape. Sometimes it's okay to imagine yourself as a teenage boy beating the crap out of your bully. Sometimes you have to not do that and do the dishes. So pick your battles, choose which ones you're going to win. Until next time, get some rest. We'll see y'all for Finding Nemo in the ocean. Bye-bye.